Spirit. So good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I kept you in the wind because I wanted you to do penance. No, we had confessions at St. Bridget's. Yeah, and I just had to leave. There was a long line still. Yeah. Yes, they are in confessions. I told them I'm running away.
It's not very cold.
Yes. So, by the way, why do we need to pray to Mary? To Mary, the Mary.
She was pursuing for other desert.
Well, this was the objection. You people Catholics pray the Rosary, and Mary takes you away from Jesus.
She doesn't. Mary takes us to Jesus. She takes us to Jesus.
This is really a person who pretends to be Catholic and teaching has so-called Bible studies in the church, okay? In different churches and homes, okay? So the argument is, or whatever, when she was confronted by somebody, the objection was, okay, the devil uses Mary to take you away from Jesus.
Wow.
Think about that.
Yeah. I was going to say, I grew up with a Dominican nun, from kindergarten all the way up to high school, and we were taught we pray the rosary outside of Mass because the Mass is the Mass itself. That's the Eucharist in the Word, not the rosary. And I think many people don't know that or they forget.
Well, because liturgies and devotions are different, okay? So the rosary is a devotion, okay? But for someone to say that the devil uses Mary, the rosary, to take us away from Jesus, it's just simply crazy.
Yeah.
How did Jesus come into the world?
From Mary.
Through the womb of the Virgin Mary. So how can Mary take us away from Jesus? If she could do that, Jesus wouldn't have told the disciple at the foot of the cross, "This is your mother." And the disciple took her into his home so that she can take him away from Jesus. No, but people are crazy. And these things are going on out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very sad. Okay. So
She has a question. No, I was just going to say, Mary is so pure. I mean, the devil can pray.
now, if we don't know how to get to Jesus, where do we go?
To Mary.
Go to Mary, she will lead you to. Yes.
And he doesn't like, the devil doesn't like the rosary because he's remembering him about the incarnation.
Yeah, because that was the definitive, yes, that was the definitive blow of his reign. Okay, the incarnation. So that's what we pray.
Yes.
Yes, so
I'm
the
happy for
scriptures,
that.
he gets that. Okay? But those are people, they are out there. And unfortunately, they present themselves as Catholics. Okay, last week we were looking at the two different types of covenants. We looked at the covenant of divine commitment. That's where we stopped, right? Okay, so we said its features are unconditional. God commits himself. The human party, or we humans don't have to do anything. It's God committing himself. And we said that when we talk about God's unconditional love, we are talking at the level of the covenant of divine commitment. God commits himself unconditionally. We don't have to do anything for these types of covenants to pass, to come about. It is God committing himself. God doesn't lie. God will deliver. Talked about that covenant of God with David. Okay, in that second Samuel chapter 7. And then we looked at the covenant with Abraham. Those are covenants of divine commitment. God commits himself to deliver. But then we said, when God offers the gift, a human being must never say no thanks. Okay? So God commits himself to salvation. Remember, we didn't ask God the Father, okay, we are tired of sinning, send the Son to redeem us. No, it was his will. He sent the Son. But once the Son is sent, once the gift is given, there is judgment. Either you take the gift and live, or you reject the gift and die. Okay? So that's where we get into a covenant of human obligation. God commits himself to deliver, to save, and once he reveals salvation to us and the way of salvation, then we are obligated to respond. So when God appears, he doesn't suggest salvation. He doesn't request. It is a mandate. Why? Because he is God and we are creatures. We are not equals. Okay? So let's look at the covenant of human obligation. Features. It is reciprocal. Certain conditions must be met to maintain the covenant. It is Torah. It can be abrogated if conditions are not fulfilled. Okay? So if the conditions are not fulfilled, the covenant falls apart. So the basic type of covenant we're going to look at in terms of human obligation is the covenant of Sinai. Did we read Exodus 20 last week? So let's go to Exodus chapter 20. It's from 19 through 20, but let's read only 20. So this is the covenant of human obligation. Okay? So God is giving the terms of the covenant. So we are entering into a covenant relationship with God, but it's not a covenant between equals. It's a covenant between God and humans. Okay? So God spoke all these words. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. Chapter 20, out of the house of slavery. You shall not have other gods beside me. You shall not make for yourselves an idol or a likeness of anything in the heavens above, or on the earth below, or in the waters beneath the earth. You shall not bow down before them or serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, inflicting punishment. Okay, and then he goes on. Now, we go to verse 7. You shall, okay, so keep my commandments. You shall not invoke the name of the Lord your God in vain. For the Lord your God will not leave unpunished anyone who invokes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day. Keep it holy. 6 days you may labor and do all your work. But on the seventh day, the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. You shall not do anything or any work, either you or your son, your daughter, your male or female slave, your work animal, or the resident alien within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them. But on the seventh day he rested. That's why the Lord has blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. So that's why they honored the Sabbath. That's one of the battles between Jesus and the Pharisees about the Shabbat. So honor your father and your mother, that you may have a long life. This is a very important commandment. If you want blessings in life, what do you do? If you want curses in life, what do you do? Don't honor your parents. Some of you older people, you know this, okay? The way you treated your mother, women, is the same way your children treat you. The way you treat your mother, okay? So, you may have a long life in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. The book of Sirach expands on this commandment. It's in Sirach chapter 3. So if your child is disobeying you, make them read Sirach chapter 3. Okay? Yes. You shall not kill. These are the terms of the covenant. God is giving them to us. Okay? God is not saying, okay, what do you think about it? These are the terms. What do you think about it? No. Why? Is God a dictator? Why is he not consulting us?
Our creator.
He is our creator. Everything he does is for our good. And he knows what is best for us. We don't know what is best for us. That's why we sin. God knows what is best for us. He created us. He knows how to bring us to fulfillment. Okay? So, he doesn't need to consult us. Because we would mess up everything if we were to consult us. You shall not kill. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, his male or female slave, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. So those are basically what we call the 10 Commandments, the terms of the covenant. Okay? Now, especially the latter part of this, okay? Thou shalt not kill. Who would want any of these things to happen to them? Well, I don't like God's commandments because I love when people steal from me. Nobody will say that I love that. Okay? But when we do it to someone else, then we may think it's okay. But it's not. Okay? So those are the terms, okay, of the covenant. So the substance of this covenant, the covenant with Moses at Sinai, is that it permanentizes the Exodus relationship. It creates a people. It is a communal covenant. So it permanentizes the Exodus experience, okay, relationship. When God enters into a covenant relationship, it's not intended to be a contract. With a contract, there are terms. Once the terms are fulfilled, then it doesn't bind anymore. Like when the president swears, I will be your president, whatever, it is 6 years. That's the contract the voters made with the president. If it's not impeached before that, okay? So 6 years.
4 years.
4 years. 4 years. Okay?
Please don't give us 2 more years.
It is the senators who are 6 years. President 4 years. Okay? I was thinking about other presidents. Okay? 4 years. After 4 years, you can't say that, well, I did well. So, I'm staying. People will say, no. After 8 years, you're gone. Obama said, well, I would have won a 3rd term. Okay, wishful thinking, but you can't. You can run again. You're done. That's a contract. Kind of, okay? A covenant is for life. It's intended to be permanent. So when God creates a people, Israel, he enters into a permanent relationship with them. The crossing of the Red Sea is the birth, the regeneration of Israel. They become a new people, a new nation. Now they enter into a permanent relationship with the God of salvation at Mount Sinai. That is the meaning of that covenant of human obligation. Okay? It is the same covenant we enter into when we are baptized, okay, in Christ Jesus. So it creates a people. Okay? You are my people, I'm your God. It's communal. This is a very important thing, communal. It's that communal aspect basically goes all the way to creation. Why? Because creation reflects God, but especially the creation of humans. They are the image of God. So how are humans the image of God? Who is God that we are the image of God? God is a communion of life. That is very important to always remember. A communion of life, community. Okay? A communion of life. So in that communion of life, when God creates human beings, they must reflect that Trinitarian communion. That's why the image of God in its fullness is male and female as they exchange that love. Just as God the Father exchanges love eternal with the Son through the unity, the third person called the Holy Spirit. So Father and Son exchange love. That exchange takes place through the third person called the Holy Spirit. That's why we say the Father and the Son are one in the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is basically fruitful. Okay? So, creative, fruitful. So, when humans are the image of God, they are created in a communion. That's the image of God. Trinitarian communion of man and woman exchanging love. And through that exchange, there comes a third person, be fruitful and multiply. That is the image. That's how we know that anything contrary to that is contrary to the plan of God. It doesn't reflect Trinitarian communion. Okay? That's why we reject these unions which are contrary to that communion. So it is a covenant is always a communion of love. So God enters into a covenant relationship with Adam and Eve, communion. It is broken by Adam and Eve. God decides to recreate. He enters into a covenant relationship with Israel as a nation. It's communal. So this idea of Jesus and me, I go to church because me, I need my Jesus, only the Eucharist and I leave, is not biblical. It's not Catholic. We are a community. So despite the shortcomings in our community, despite the pain some people give us, okay, that's the way God intends us to be. We have to improve on our community communion, but not to resent it or run away from it. So it's not Jesus and me, because Jesus enters into a covenant relationship with his body. It's a communion. So this covenant is communal. It is a covenant of human obligation. What does that mean? It means that the human party has obligations to fulfill if the covenant is to stand. Okay? That is a very important thing. We have obligations to fulfill. God is not obligated toward us. We can't put God under any obligation. Because we are creatures and everything we have has been given to us by God. So some of us Catholics have this tendency to say, well, I'm a good Catholic. Well, sometimes it's only in our own estimation, okay? But let's say, I'm a good Christian, a good Catholic. And then a good Catholic does what she thinks are good things. And then, when we do those good things, before long, something bad happens to us. And for some of us, what is the immediate reaction? God, I have been so faithful to you. I've done ABCD. Why are these bad things happening to me? God doesn't appreciate what I do. Well, thinking that I can put God under obligation. God, because I did ABCD, you deserve, well, I deserve ABCD from you. That is what we call Pharisaic righteousness. Jesus calls it that. And nobody can be saved by that. Meaning that I can do these works and save myself. Remember the Pharisee and the publican, tax collector, who went to pray. The Pharisee stood before God, He took his position. I think it was like this, taking one's position. Thank you, God, that I'm not like that guy over there, over there. Okay? I pray tithes, I do whatever. Okay? He did all those things, but for his own glory, not to glorify God. Okay? So, all that God, if I do certain things, you have obligated. God is not obligated to give us anything. Everything we are, everything we have is pure gift. God is not obligated to save us. It was out of pure graciousness that He sent the Son while we were still enemies of God, as Scripture tells us. That's pure graciousness, okay? Pure love. Okay? So the human part has obligations to fulfill if covenant is to stand. What are those obligations? For this reason, Torah is seen as a natural outflow from covenant relationship. That is a very significant point. Torah, just recapping what we looked at. We have the Exodus, and from the Exodus event comes covenant. You can't enter into covenant relationship if you don't start to move. You have to get out of sin and enter into covenant. That's why, for example, when adults are being baptized, there is a catechumen, the process of the catechumenate, okay, whereby a person truly repents of their sinfulness, okay, and choose to basically embrace God in covenant relationship. So when we enter into covenant relationship, there is what we call Torah, the terms of the covenant. Okay? And then from Torah, those terms of covenant are celebrated by the covenant community as worship. That's the connection. Exodus, covenant, Torah, and worship. So the terms of the covenant are very important. Why? Because they the covenant community. This is a very important thing to understand, point to understand. Why? Because as you know, because of our human weakness, okay, we tend to look at God's commandments as obstacles. I want you to do this and then don't do this. I want you to do this, don't do this. So they are obstacles to what I want to do. Okay? But in actual fact, that's not how Israel understood the Torah. The biblical sense of Torah is that it is God's gift to His people. So what we call law or commandments, properly called divine instruction, Torah, is a gift. Not a burden, not an obligation, not whatever it is, God's gift to His people. And that gift is intended to preserve the covenant community. Torah preserves. That's why Jesus tells us, if you obey or do whatever, you have life in you. If you don't, you have no life in you. You fall apart. Okay? So Torah preserves the covenant community. So because it's intended to be permanent, that relationship. Therefore, it must be preserved. And what preserves it is Torah, divine instruction, the commandments, the law. So the law is not burdensome. Okay? So when you read, there is a psalm which explains the law extensively. It's a long, long psalm. Okay? It's long, long. But there are so many verses which basically say these things in a very good way. But verse 105 basically summarizes everything very well. That verse says, Psalm 119 is very long. It's the longest psalm. Very long, very long. I can't do this. So it says, prayer to God the lawgiver, praising God's law, the Torah. Can you see how long that psalm is? From the Bible. It's long. Go on and on and on and on. It's like a book. Okay? Also, it has like it has 176 verses. Okay? Yes. But verse 105 says, It's the praising God's law, His instructions, divine instruction. Your word, meaning your law, your Torah, is a lamp for my feet and a light for my path. That is how it is understood. A gift to lead me where I need to be, where I need to go, to propel me to fulfillment. So when you get time, read that psalm to see how an Israel understood Torah. It was never understood as something burdensome, but gift of God to preserve the covenant community. Okay. So Torah is seen as a way of preserving the covenant community. That's why there is a strong emphasis on the Great Commandment. So the Great Commandment is Deuteronomy. We know this, okay? Chapter 6, beginning with verse 4. Hear this, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. Love your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. Okay, that's the Great Commandment. Okay? Israel was constantly reminded of that commandment over and over and over again. Okay? So that's why there is a strong emphasis on the Great Commandment. When we read through Deuteronomy and the Kings, we come to realize that history is a string of infidels. This is God's law to preserve the people. The people don't follow it. They disobey, thinking that they can devise their own Torah and things will go well with them. So remember that the devil is Torah's enemy from the very beginning. Torah has been there since creation. When you read Genesis chapter 1, rather chapter 2, you see God creating a garden. Okay? In the garden there were trees. Okay? In the middle, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which God said, thou shalt not eat. Okay? From the tree of life you can eat. So that is Torah, divine instruction, right from the moment of creation. The devil hates God's instructions because he knows that they are going to preserve humans in the image and the likeness of God. So he comes and constantly attacks Torah and twists it. No wonder at the temptations of Jesus, again he's using Torah, God's law, to twist it. In the Garden of Eden, he used God's Torah and falsified it. That is his tool, to falsify the truth. And then we fall for the lie. Because when he falsifies truth, he seemingly wants to empower us. God is hiding something from you. You can be God. Okay? So just disobey what God is saying, obey what I'm saying, and you will be free. So God is your enemy. He doesn't want you to know certain things. I am your friend. Follow my instructions. Or follow your own instructions. Do whatever you want to do. That is, unfortunately, the history of humanity. But you have to know that it's not a new thing. So in our day and age, there is this so-called redefinition of sin. That some things are not what were sin before, now they are not sin anymore. It's the same thing, taking simply new forms. But it's the same ancient lie, the same old lie. So when you peel the layers off, you end up with the same thing, to falsify the truth. But when we do that, what happens? The covenant community falls apart. Okay, Adam and Eve, Israel, okay? You go back into bondage, into exile, into sin, into death. Okay? So that's why Torah is very important. So the Great Commandment is constantly violated. We see the covenant curses taking over instead of covenant blessings. Okay? It's there in Deuteronomy. And of course Exodus. If you obey, blessings will follow you. If you don't obey, curses will follow you. This we have to understand very clearly. There is no neutral ground between God and the devil. I can't say, okay, God leave me alone, devil leave me alone. Okay? I mean, what do they call that? Free what?
Free will?
No.
No.
Basically, no man's land. No man's land. Okay? So where I stand, God has no power, or the devil has no power over this. Okay? No man's land. Just God, devil, leave my life alone. It can't happen. We either belong to God or to the devil. There is no neutral ground between God and the devil. There is no neutral ground between good and evil. I'm not doing good and I'm not doing evil. What are you doing? So if we don't follow God, curses take over. If we follow God, blessings take over. Follow us. So that is very clear teaching from way on. So that's the thing we are doing today. Do you see this commercial? I pity that boy. He's a man. Ronald Reagan. You know him, the former president. He's called Ronald Reagan. Just as the other president, he's his son. He's whatever. So he is on TV. It has been running for long. He advertises that Help Us is an organization of atheists and agnostics. And he's the leader of it. And his ad goes like this. Help us to get rid of religion from our politics, our state. To separate the church from the state. Okay? Join us. And then he goes on and says, many things. And then he ends by saying that, by the way, I'm not afraid of burning in hell forever.
That's good, because that's where he's going.
It's not good. It's not good.
It's good for him.
Maybe Jesus is saying, well, forgive him, he doesn't know what he's saying. Basically what he's saying is that you religious people are delusional. Because there is no hell. So I'm not afraid of burning in hell forever, because there is no hell. Until you get there. And when it is too late. Okay? So, that's humans. So Israel chooses death. Can you imagine? We have life and we choose death. This is the reason why they are in exile. The second Egypt. They are back to Egypt. Bondage. Now in their exile, hope for the future turns to the new covenant. In Jeremiah, the old covenant written on stone tablets was broken. The new will be written right on their hearts. In exile, hope also turns to covenant with Abraham. The covenant of divine commitment. Okay? But briefly, we are going to look at here briefly Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 31 to 34. That text is very easy to remember. New covenant, Jeremiah 31:31. It's easy to remember. That text is very important in this regard. Remember Jeremiah chapter 31, beginning with verse 31. Remember that God created human beings very good, Adam and Eve. What did they do? They fell into disobedience and sin and death entered into the world, of course, through the envy of the devil. Okay? So, the paradise was like a picture of heaven. So if Adam and Eve sinned, what guarantee do we have that humans will not sin again? That the new covenant in Jesus Christ will not be violated again. What do we call the new covenant? The old covenant was violated over and over again. Even we know the new, we violate it over and over again by our sinfulness. But what guarantee is there that it will stand forever? Because let's read Jeremiah 31, beginning with 31. Let's See what says there. What guarantee? Remember, Adam and Eve were in paradise. They chose to sin. So, what guarantee do we have that humans will be forever in heaven? Adam and Eve, God had guaranteed them to be forever in the garden. They sinned. So what guarantee do we have that we will be in heaven forever? That there will never be a second fall? Is there any guarantee? Okay, let's read that one. See, the days are coming, says the Lord. Yes, it's oracle of the Lord. When I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Why Israel and Judah? Because by the time Jeremiah is writing, the kingdom is divided into two. It will.
Within those two?
Northern kingdom was called Israel, 10 tribes. Southern kingdom was called Judah, 2 tribes. So I will not be this covenant, will not be like the covenant I made with their ancestors the day I took them by the hand and led them out of the land of Egypt. They broke my covenant, though I was their master, says the Lord. So that covenant was violated because it was written on stone tablets. Violated over and over and over again. But this is the covenant I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says the Lord. I will place my law within them, no longer on stone tablets, but within them, and write it upon their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. I shall be their God, I will be their God, and they shall be my people. So, the new covenant is guaranteed because it will be written deep within their hearts. That law has been written deep within your heart and my heart when we got baptized. But we know since then we have sinned. So what is the guarantee? The guarantee is what basically Jeremiah is talking about here, but it will be fulfilled later. The guarantee is the human heart of Jesus Christ, who truly became man, such that now the new Adam, who is offering obedience and worship to God the Father, is God himself become man. And by that incarnation, God became man. Jesus is the Lord himself. So, Jesus in his humanity will never disobey God in his divinity. So that union between God and man in what we call the hypostatic union is the guarantee that the new covenant is forever. It will never be abrogated. Why? Because the guarantor of that covenant is God and man. So whoever is united to the humanity of Jesus Christ is bound to live forever. Through him, with him, and in him. Otherwise, if God didn't become man, there wouldn't really be a guarantee. Because humans are like history is a string of infidels. Over and over and over again. So God had to come to guarantee that the new covenant will be forever. So there will never be a second fall. That humans will fall from heaven. Because that would mean that God is falling from heaven. Okay? So that's why we say Jesus Christ, his priesthood is forever. And now he is no longer God, a true God, but now he is true God and a true man forever and ever. Ever since the incarnation. That's how the covenant relationship God has made with us is guaranteed that it is forever. Okay? So that is, the new covenant in Jeremiah, in Jesus Christ. So the prophets now turn to those covenants again when Israel is in exile, to examine the scriptures, because in exile, Israel has lost hope. Has God abandoned us? Has He given up on us? There is no more hope. He promised us land, but now we don't have a land. He promised us worship, to worship Him. We have no temple. So, in that sense of hopelessness, the prophets come and they said, no, we shouldn't lose hope because God committed Himself through these covenants of divine commitment. Okay. And then we see later on after the exile in 538 BC, then Ezra the priest reads the law. Okay. From morning till evening, people crying. Okay. Because you went into exile. You went into exile because you disobeyed Torah and you fell apart. You can't be preserved if you don't follow God's law. Now listen to God's law and follow it so that it doesn't happen to you again. Okay, that's the entire project of the book of Ezra. Okay, so we see now how the journey from Passover leads to covenant. Okay. Everything comes from the Passover. That's why in our Christian lives, everything comes from the cross, including baptism itself. Okay. Because sometimes there's a tendency to think that baptism is like a prior to the cross. No, the cross is the baptism of Jesus. Remember the sons of Zebedee, okay? When they were asking Jesus, okay, we need one to sit on your right and the other on your left in your kingdom. Jesus says, okay, are you ready to drink the cup that I will drink and be baptized with the baptism with which I am baptized? Remember that he had already been baptized by John. So what baptism is he talking about? Jesus didn't need the baptism of John because it was a baptism of repentance. Jesus didn't have anything to repent of. Okay, or from. He is God. So he accepted that to identify himself with sinners, where he will truly identify himself with them on the cross, which is his real baptism. For the Hebrews, it was the crossing of the Red Sea that made them a people. Okay? They entered into covenant after crossing the Red Sea. So Jesus Christ makes the new covenant by crossing the Red Sea of the cross. That's the language of Pope Benedict. Okay? The Red Sea of the cross. His blood. That's how he enters into, that's how he accomplishes covenant love. That is the covenant which accomplishes everything. That's why we say from his side flows blood and water. Blood is symbol of the Eucharist, water, baptism. Everything flows from the cross, not the other way around. So that's the important. Covenant comes from the cross. Covenant comes from the Passover. That's his Passover, the cross. Okay, so the journey from Passover leads to covenant. Deliverance, salvation is made permanent by way of covenant. Okay? Salvation is a process coming to fulfillment. Okay? So now we jump from that understanding of covenant in the Old Testament, okay, to Jesus Christ. Remember, Jesus Christ is also on an Exodus. Okay, let's look at that text in the Transfiguration. Matthew, we went to the one from in Luke. Okay? Is it Luke chapter 10? The Transfiguration. So we are looking for the, what is the Transfiguration, where it is reported in Luke. see. Let's see. Yes, it's chapter 9. Okay? Chapter 9. Okay, so listen to the language here. Okay?
Chapter 9, verse 1.
And we begin with verse 1.
Okay.
No, chapter 9, not verse 1. Chapter 9, verse. It says 28. In my Bible, they missed the 8. It's the first 2. The transfiguration of Jesus. Okay? Beginning with verse 28. Okay? The Gospel of Luke. Luke chapter 9. Beginning with verse 28. Listen to this language. Okay? Remember what we have looked at there? Exodus, covenant, Torah, and worship. Okay? Now listen to the language here, the transfiguration. Luke chapter 9, beginning with verse 28. Okay. So about 8 days after he said this, he took Peter, John, and James and went up the mountain to pray. Okay? Went to pray. While he was praying, his face changed in appearance, and his clothing became dazzling white. And behold, 2 men were conversing with him. Who are these 2 men? Moses and Elijah. What were they conversing with Jesus?
About the purification.
What were they conversing about? With? The next line. Okay? Who appeared in glory and spoke of his exodus that was going to accomplish in Jerusalem. What is that exodus? What is an exodus? The departure from Egypt. What is Egypt? Bondage, sin. So Jesus, just as Moses led the exodus, okay, from sin to whatever, Jesus is the new Moses. Moses led the people from a geographical location called Egypt to a geographical location called Canaan. Okay? Jesus is, because his kingdom is not of this world, these were simply types, symbols, okay, symbolizing what Jesus will do. He is leading the exodus from sin to the glory of God, to heaven. And how does he begin the exodus? By his baptism. What does baptism do? It takes away sin. What does the cross do? His baptism? What do we say at Mass when we consecrate, especially the cup? This is the chalice of my blood, okay? Which will be poured out for many, for the forgiveness of sins. That is his departure. That is his exodus. And through that exodus, we enter into covenant relationship. How? As Pope Benedict says, by going to the place of his baptism. Meaning the cross, where he identified himself with me, that's where I go to identify myself with him. That's why in Romans chapter 6 you hear that when we receive baptism, we die with Christ, so that we may be able to rise with him. That is the exodus. We too must die to sin. Okay? He leads the exodus, but we must follow. And we must identify ourselves with him.